There comes a moment in every man's life when he faces the ultimate test, choosing between holding on to what's familiar or walking away to embrace his true power. When someone leaves, whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, or anyone who once held significance, the natural instinct is to wait, to hope, to wonder if they'll come back. But the truth is, the most powerful move isn't in waiting, it's in evolving. When she walks away, she expects you to chase, to plead, to remain in the shadows, hoping for her return. That's how the game is played. But what happens when you don't? What happens when, instead of staying stagnant, you grow, evolve, and become stronger than ever before? She begins to feel the shift. The absence of your presence, your attention, your validation, it all creates a void she never expected, and that's when she comes back. But she's not returning out of love, she's returning out of a need to reclaim control. This is the moment that defines who you are. Do you let her back in, erasing all the strength you built? Or do you stand firm, knowing that your value isn't determined by someone who once walked away? The real power isn't in rejecting her out of spite. It's in realizing you no longer need to respond at all. This isn't just about one person, it's about you. It's about setting a new standard for how you allow people to treat you. It's about becoming the kind of man who never begs, never chases, and never loses himself over someone who failed to recognize his worth. The moment you embrace this mindset, you step into a life of true power, one where you are the prize. Number 1. The trap. Why she's waiting for you to break. When she leaves, she expects you to crumble. She's not just walking away, she's setting a trap, a psychological test to see if you'll break, if you'll chase, if you'll prove to her that she was the center of your world. And that's exactly what most men do. They beg, they plead, they text, they call, they show up in desperation, unwittingly confirming exactly what she wanted to believe, that she had all the power. But what if you did the opposite? What if, instead of breaking, you disappeared completely? See, the reason she's waiting for you to break is simple. Ego. She needs to believe that she was so important, so irreplaceable, that you can't function without her. The moment you beg for another chance, you reinforce her value while diminishing your own. She might not even want you back, but knowing that you're still there, still emotionally invested, feeds her ego and solidifies her control. And that's the trap, one you must refuse to fall into. Most men think they can win her back by proving their devotion, by being persistent, by waiting for her to realize what she lost. But here's the hard truth. If she truly valued you, she wouldn't have left in the first place. And if she did leave, the only thing that will ever make her second-guess that decision is not your words, not your pleading, but your complete and total absence. She has to feel the loss. She has to experience the void where your presence used to be. Only then does she start questioning herself. Only then does she wonder if she made a mistake. At first, she'll act unaffected. She'll seem happy, moving on as if nothing happened. She'll post pictures, laugh with friends, and put on a show. But deep down, she's waiting to see if you'll break first. And when you don't, when you go silent, when you channel all that energy into becoming a stronger, more disciplined, more powerful version of yourself, the dynamic shifts. The power balance changes. Suddenly, she's the one feeling uncertain. She's the one questioning. She's the one realizing that maybe, just maybe, you weren't as replaceable as she thought. That's when the regret starts creeping in. But by the time she finally feels it, by the time she finally reaches out, it won't matter anymore. Because you'll be so far ahead, so transformed, that the man she left behind no longer exists. The trap was set, but you never fell into it. And that, right there, is the ultimate power move. Number 2, the illusion of closure. Stop seeking what doesn't exist. Closure is a myth, a lie we tell ourselves to justify waiting, to rationalize our need for validation from the very person who left us behind. You think you need one last conversation, one final explanation, one moment where she finally admits she was wrong, apologizes, and gives you the peace you've been searching for. But deep down, you already know the truth. That moment isn't coming. The need for closure is nothing more than an emotional leash that keeps you tied to the past. It keeps you waiting, hoping, and replaying every moment, searching for an answer that will make it all make sense. But the reality is, most people don't get closure. Relationships rarely end with clean conclusions. More often than not, they end with silence, confusion, unanswered questions, and unfinished sentences. And if you're chasing closure, what you're really chasing is permission to move on, permission that you don't need. She's not going to give you the explanation you want, because that would require her to take full responsibility for the damage she caused. That would mean admitting she misled you, played with your emotions, or took you for granted. And most people, especially those who leave others in pain, will never admit that. Instead, they'll say things like, "It just wasn't the right time," or "I still care about you," but empty words meant to ease their own guilt, not to give you peace. So, if closure doesn't exist, what's the alternative? You create your own. You decide right now that you don't need her to validate your experience. You don't need an apology. You don't need a final conversation. You don't need to understand why she did what she did. The only thing you need is the realization that she made a choice, and now it's your turn to make yours. Real closure isn't about words, explanations, or apologies. It's about action. It's about refusing to dwell on what could have been and focusing on what comes next. It's about accepting that some chapters don't get a proper ending, and that's okay. The story doesn't stop just because a character exits. Your life keeps going, and the moment you stop looking for closure is the moment you truly move forward. So stop waiting for an apology that won't come. Stop expecting an explanation that won't satisfy you. Stop seeking peace from the person who disrupted it in the first place. The only closure you'll ever need is the one you give yourself, and once you understand that, you take back all the power you thought you lost. Number 3. Emotional control, the power of silence. Silence is the ultimate weapon in emotional warfare. It is the language of strength, the response of those who refuse to be manipulated, and the strategy of individuals who understand their own worth. When emotions run high, when you feel the urge to explain yourself, defend your name, or seek validation, silence becomes your greatest ally. Most men fail in moments of emotional turmoil because they react instead of restraining themselves. They give in to the need to be heard, to be understood, to prove a point. But those who master the power of silence understand that real control isn't in speaking, it's in withholding. When she walks away, when she ignores you, when she tests you with mixed signals, your silence speaks louder than any words ever could. It sends a clear message. You are not desperate. You are not chasing. You are not affected. And that message is powerful. Because the moment you refuse to respond, the moment you stop engaging in the back and forth, the balance of power shifts. She starts wondering why you haven't reacted, why you seem unaffected, why she no longer has control over your emotions. And in that wondering, she begins to lose the upper hand. Most people rely on emotional reactions to gauge their impact on others. If she can make you angry, sad, or desperate, she knows she still has a hold on you. But when you offer nothing, no anger, no pleading, no reaction, she is left with uncertainty. And uncertainty is what keeps people up at night. It forces them to question everything they assumed about you. She expected you to break, to reach out, to make it easy for her to feel validated. Instead, You disappeared into silence, leaving her with nothing but her own thoughts. Silence also protects your dignity. It keeps you from saying things you'll regret, from engaging in pointless arguments, and from lowering yourself to the level of someone who already proved they don't value you. It shows discipline, self-respect, and emotional maturity, qualities that not only elevate your own confidence, but also make you more attractive and commanding in every area of life. The man who controls his emotions controls his destiny. The moment you stop explaining yourself, stop reacting impulsively, stop handing over your power in the form of words, you become untouchable, and in that moment she realizes something terrifying. She no longer has access to you. That is the true power of silence, and once you master it, you'll never need to prove yourself to anyone again. Number 4. The Stoic Rebuild. Reinventing yourself. The most powerful transformation you can undergo after loss or rejection is not revenge, it's reinvention. While others dwell on the past, hoping for a second chance or seeking closure, a true Stoic sees every setback as an opportunity for self-mastery. This is not about proving anything to her or to anyone else. It's about becoming the strongest, most unshakable version of yourself, not for their validation, but for your own evolution. The first step in the Stoic rebuild is complete detachment. Detachment does not mean indifference, it means control. You no longer allow external events, people, or emotions to dictate your inner peace. You accept that what has happened was meant to happen, and instead of resisting reality, you embrace it. The woman who left, the opportunities that faded, the friendships that dissolved. They were never yours to begin with, and the moment you stop resisting, you free yourself to focus on what truly matters, your growth. Now, you channel that energy into action. A weak man seeks comfort, drowning in distractions, hoping that time alone will heal him. A strong man chooses discipline. He sharpens his mind, strengthens his body, and refines his purpose. He invests in skills, in knowledge, in experiences that elevate him beyond who he was before. He becomes so consumed with his mission that he has no time to look back. And in that forward momentum, something remarkable happens. The past loses its grip, and he steps fully into his power. Physical transformation is part of this process, not for vanity, but as a testament to discipline. A weak body often reflects a weak mind, and a strong body reinforces resilience. Training, pushing limits, and sculpting yourself into peak form is not just about aesthetics. It's a symbol of the control you now have over your life. Likewise, sharpening your intellect, mastering emotional discipline, and aligning your actions with your principles builds an unshakable foundation that no one, not even she, can disturb. Then comes the most crucial step, setting new standards. The man you are becoming has no interest in chasing what once disregarded him. He no longer entertains people who bring chaos, women who play games, or situations that drain his energy. His time is now reserved for things that elevate him, people who align with his values, and pursuits that bring fulfillment. He is not motivated by bitterness, but by the clarity that his worth was never defined by anyone else to begin with. This is the Stoic rebuild, the process of rising from the ashes, not as a bitter man seeking revenge, but as a man so focused, so evolved, so untouchable that he never looks back. The past becomes irrelevant, the pain becomes fuel, and the new version of you, unstoppable. Number 5. The reverse psychology of detachment. Detachment is not about ignoring someone or pretending you don't care. It's about reclaiming your power. When you detach, you shift the balance of control. You become the one who dictates the terms, the one who no longer reacts emotionally, the one who no longer plays the game. And the irony? The moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop seeking validation, is the moment they start noticing your absence. This is the reverse psychology of detachment. It pulls them in by making them feel the void you once filled. Most men make the mistake of thinking that detachment means cold indifference, but true detachment is much deeper. It's not an act. It's a mindset. It means you have internally moved on. You have accepted that you cannot control how others perceive you, how they feel about you, or whether they return. You only control yourself, your actions, your focus, and your emotional state. When you truly grasp this, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is what creates attraction and intrigue. The reason detachment is so powerful is that people crave what they cannot have. When you were available, when you responded instantly, when you showed that you cared too much, you became predictable. Predictability breeds comfort, and comfort leads to complacency. But when you walk away without looking back, when you stop reacting to their games, when you no longer seek their attention, they begin to wonder. They question why you're no longer affected. They wonder if they ever had control over you in the first place, and this drives them crazy. But here's the key. Detachment must be genuine. If it's just a tactic to get a reaction, it will fail. The moment they sense that you're waiting for them to notice your absence, you lose your power again. Real detachment means you have built a life so full, so purposeful, that their presence or absence no longer impacts you. You aren't avoiding them to get a reaction. You're simply too focused on your own growth to even notice. And that's where the real power lies. People sense energy. They can tell when someone is trying to manipulate them versus when someone has truly outgrown them. The man who masters detachment doesn't need to prove anything. His silence speaks for itself. His absence is louder than his presence ever was. And the moment they feel that shift, the tables turn. This is why the reverse psychology of detachment works. It forces them to experience what life is like without you. And in that silence, in that space, they come to the realization that you were the one in control all along. But by the time they figure it out, you've already moved on. Number 6. The power of absence. Absence is one of the most powerful tools of influence and control, yet few people understand how to use it effectively. When you remove yourself from someone's life, whether by choice or by necessity, you force them to confront a reality without you in it. And in that space, in that silence, something profound happens. They start to notice your worth. The reason: human nature. People rarely appreciate what is readily available, but they crave what is missing. Most men fail to harness the power of absence because they fear being forgotten. They believe that if they stay away too long, the other person will move on and replace them. But the truth is, absence creates intrigue. It shifts the dynamic. When you were always there, always responding, always giving your energy freely, you were taken for granted. You were predictable. Predictability kills desire. But when you remove yourself, when you suddenly stop engaging, stop explaining, stop proving your worth, your presence transforms into a mystery. And mystery creates attraction. Think about it. Why do people become obsessed with things they can't have? Why do they chase after what eludes them? Because scarcity breeds value. When something is readily available, it loses significance. But when something is rare or absent, people start to question its worth. Your absence forces them to wonder, why did he stop reaching out? Why does he no longer care? Has he moved on? These questions create an internal tension that works in your favor. But here's the catch. Absence only works when it's real. If you're sitting by the phone hoping they'll reach out, checking their social media, or secretly waiting for their return, then you haven't truly left. Absence is not just physical, it's emotional and psychological. You must actually detach, move forward, and build a life that no longer revolves around them. When you do this, your absence carries weight. It signals that you are no longer available, no longer an option, no longer waiting in the shadows, and that realization shakes people to their core. The power of absence lies in what it forces the other person to confront. It makes them see what life is like without you. It creates a void, and in that void, they come to terms with the impact you had on their life. But the most powerful aspect of absence is this: by the time they realize what they lost, you've already moved on. You're no longer seeking validation, no longer needing closure, no longer waiting. And in that moment, you hold all the power, not because you played a game, but because you genuinely evolved beyond their reach. Number 7. Emotional alchemy. Emotional alchemy is the art of transforming pain into power, rejection into growth, and loss into an opportunity for reinvention. Most people allow negative emotions to consume them, trapping them in cycles of self-doubt, anger, or regret. But a Stoic understands that emotions are raw energy, energy that can either weaken you or be transmuted into something greater. The choice is yours. When someone walks away from you, it's easy to feel abandoned, unworthy, or even resentful. But these emotions, if left unchecked, only serve to keep you stuck. Instead of drowning in them, you must learn to channel them into something productive. This is emotional alchemy, taking the very thing that was meant to break you and using it to rebuild yourself stronger than ever. Instead of dwelling on why they left, focus on why you are evolving. Instead of seeking revenge, commit to self-improvement. Instead of waiting for closure, find it in your own transformation. Pain is a teacher, but only if you listen. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every betrayal carries a lesson, one that, if embraced, can elevate you to a level you never thought possible. But most people resist this process. They numb the pain with distractions, seek validation in temporary connections, or replay the past in their minds, hoping for a different outcome. This is wasted energy. The Stoic approach is different. Acknowledge the pain, feel it fully, then redirect it into action. Hit the gym, build a new skill, focus on your craft. Create the life that they never imagined you could have without them. This is how you win. Not by chasing, not by proving anything to them, but by becoming the best version of yourself in silence. There's a reason why those who rise from adversity are often the most powerful. They've learned to transmute suffering into strength, to turn wounds into wisdom. The person who masters emotional alchemy becomes unstoppable because they are no longer controlled by external events. Rejection, a stepping stone; betrayal, a lesson in discernment; loss, a chance to grow beyond their past limitations. Nothing can break a person who has trained themselves to extract value from every hardship. In the end, the goal isn't to avoid pain. It's to use it. It's to take every ounce of emotional turmoil and refine it into the fuel that drives you forward. The ones who doubted you, the ones who underestimated you, the ones who left you behind, they will all watch as you rise, not because you sought their approval, but because you mastered the ultimate skill, turning pain into power. That is emotional alchemy. Number 8. When she comes back. The final test. She will come back. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, when she least expects it, she will feel the void you left behind. She may have walked away believing you would crumble, expecting you to chase, to wait, to remain in the shadows, longing for her return. But you didn't. Instead, you became something unrecognizable, stronger, more focused, untouchable, and that, more than anything, terrifies her. When that moment comes, she will reach out. It may be subtle, a casual "Hey, how have you been?" a random like on your post, a shared memory she suddenly recalls, a weak attempt to see if you'll take the bait. But understand this, she is not coming back because she loves you. She is coming back because she feels your power, your silence, your absence. She senses that you have outgrown her, and she wants to know if she still holds a place in your mind, in your heart, in your life. This is the final test, the moment where most men fail. They see her return as a sign of regret, as proof that she realizes she made a mistake. They respond eagerly. They let her back in, and just like that, all the strength they built is undone. But not you, not this time. Because now you see through the illusion. You recognize the game for what it is. She's not reaching out for love. She's reaching out for control. She wants to know if she still has access to you, if she can still affect you, if she can walk back into your life as easily as she walked out. So when she returns, you remain the same man she left, unmoved, detached, and unwavering in your worth. You don't rush to respond. You don't rearrange your life for her. You don't give her the validation she seeks. Instead, you stand firm in the man you have become. The true power move isn't rejecting her out of spite. It's realizing that you no longer need to respond at all. She made her choice, and now you make yours. You don't entertain the past. You don't open doors that have already been closed. You don't repeat lessons you've already learned. The greatest revenge isn't anger, it's indifference. The most powerful move isn't proving your worth, it's knowing it. The moment you embrace this truth, you become untouchable. If she truly valued you, she would have never left in the first place. But now she will watch from a distance as you continue to rise, knowing that the version of you she once knew no longer exists. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer hoping. You are simply moving forward without her. Number 9. The ultimate power move. Walk away without looking back. This is it, the defining moment, the final move that separates the weak from the strong. She expected you to chase. She expected you to break. She expected you to wait, but you didn't. Instead, you did the one thing she never thought possible. You walked away. And now, after all this time, after watching from a distance, after realizing that you never cracked, she wants back in. But not because she loves you, not because she's changed. She wants back because she feels the shift, the loss of control, the absence of power, the realization that she no longer holds any influence over you. This is where most men fail. They see her return as fate, as proof that she finally understands their worth. They take her reappearance as validation. They welcome her back with open arms, believing that this time it will be different. But it never is. She's not coming back out of love. She's coming back out of curiosity, out of fear, out of a desire to see if she still has a place in your life. And the second you let her back in, you undo all the strength you built. But not you. Not this time, because now you understand the truth. Real power isn't in proving her wrong, it's in proving yourself right. It's in knowing your worth so deeply that you refuse to be an option. Walking away isn't just about her, it's about you. It's about choosing yourself over someone who once made you feel like you weren't enough. It's about setting a new standard for how you allow people to treat you. The strongest move you'll ever make isn't rejecting her out of spite. It's realizing you don't need to respond at all. The old version of you, the one who waited, hoped, and longed for her return, no longer exists. You don't repeat lessons you've already learned. You don't open doors you've already closed. And you don't look back at what was, because you're too focused on what's ahead. There is no revenge greater than elevation. No power moves stronger than complete indifference. No greater victory than choosing yourself over someone who once made you an afterthought. When she looks back, when she realizes what she lost, when she sees the man you've become, she'll understand. You were the prize all along, but by then it will be too late. This is your moment, your turning point, your transformation. From this point forward, you don't chase, you don't break. you rise. And as you do, you leave behind everything and everyone who ever doubted your worth.